Hello, my name is David Mangan, and I am here to give you a presentation on climate change and why you shouldn't fall for the hype. First question, is climate change happening? Well, the answer is yes. First slide that I have for you is temperatures off of the Greenland ice core. The Greenland ice core is a program where they cored out ice from Greenland and they measured the CO2 in the layers of ice to get a basic idea of what the temperature has been over the past 10,000 years. Now, give you another look at the Greenland ice core. This is the same graph. The only difference is instead of a line showing the climate change, I have a nice arrow pointing to where we are today. The best way that I can put this is that for 90% of the Earth's existence, the temperature of the Earth has been warmer than it is right now. A couple other examples of different climate change happening through history. We have the Doomsday Book. So William the Conqueror became King of England in 1066, and he took accounting of everything that was in his possessions. That included vineyards in northern England. You don't have vineyards in northern England anymore. It's too cold, which tells us that in 1066 it was warmer than it is now. Barley grown in Greenland. Okay, barley doesn't grow in Greenland anymore. It's too cold. At the same time, or I shouldn't say at the same time, concurrently, they held frost fairs on the River Thames when it froze over. So between 1607 and 1814, they held Christmas markets or frost fairs on the River Thames in London because it was frozen so solid. That hasn't happened since 1814 because the river hasn't frozen that solid ever again, which means that we are now warmer than it was in 1814, which is kind of the end of the little ice age. So, why all the alarmism? Well, what we see here is the famous hockey stick graph that was made famous by a scientist named Michael Mann. And what he was trying to prove was that the climate was getting catastrophically warmer by the year 2000. A couple problems with this. Number one, Michael Mann was using some erroneous data. So for a while he was using data from bristlecone pine trees, and after a while he switched to data from various thermometers. Why did he do that? Well, because if he'd continued using the data from the bristlecone pine trees, it would have showed a cooling trend in the 20th century, and he didn't want that. Also, researchers from Canada tried to replicate his data, tried to replicate his results, and were unable to do so. In fact, what they found out whenever they plugged their own data into his matrix, it spit out the same result every time, even when they just entered what was essentially white noise. So, falsified data, bad data. Let's look at a couple predictions that were made because of that data. Ice Age by 2000, peak oil by 2000, Maldive Islands underwater by 2018. Pro tip for you, they're not. I think the most famous was Al Gore predicting that the Arctic would be ice-free by 2013. He then revised that to 2014. I would point out that the Arctic still has plenty of ice. Pretty much every prediction made in order to push global warming alarmism has been wrong. Now, what's the problem with that? The problem is laws and regulations are being written off of the data, the alarmist data, and a lot of times those laws have a negative reaction. Perfect example, electric vehicles. Everybody wants clean vehicles, right? Well, mining for the nickel, the cobalt, the lithium, all of the stuff that goes into making these batteries is toxic as all get out. Strip mining for laterite nickel is actually destroying tropical rainforests because that's where that mineral is located. Lithium uses 500 gallons of water to produce a metric ton of lithium, and that water goes everywhere, polluting the ecosystem. You just don't see the damage because it's not being done where you are. It's not being done in Idaho. Electric cars also require plastic. It's got to be lightweight. Plastic requires oil. The bottom line is that electric car is a bunch of toxic chemicals surrounded by hydrocarbons. Not just the battery is the problem. Who's got the electricity? The best example I can give was in 2022 when California, who by the way is mandating the use of electric cars by 2035, or mandating the sale of electric cars by 2035, in 2022, they told electric car owners that they couldn't charge their cars during the day because they didn't have enough power. Texas had a power grid go down. Right now, Georgia is having trouble producing enough power. So if we switch over to electric cars, where are we going to get the juice for it? Now, why is this all happening? Follow the money. With most everything, it's all about the money. Okay, billions of dollars towards climate science, billions of dollars of grants, billions of dollars of tax subsidies, A lot of people are making money off of being alarmist about global change. And even Greenpeace, who I don't disagree or who I don't agree with all the time, has called carbon offsets a scam. So what does that mean? Don't fall for emotional rhetoric, okay? In order to deal with climate change, which is happening based on that giant thermonuclear explosion that's happening in the middle of the solar system, you have to have real data. Don't allow yourself to be intimidated or scared. I guarantee that some of the people listening right now are having an emotional reaction to me just listing off a couple of facts. And that's because for so many years, for decades now, the science or the language around climate change has been emotionally charged. And it's designed to be emotionally charged because when people are afraid, they are easier to control. I can assure you that the people pushing that the alarmist climate science are not looking out for your best interest. And finally, if you have a little bit of time, here are a few videos that I thought presented the subject matter. Climate the movie is a little over an hour, so you got to have a little time to watch that. So, with that being said, I'm open to any questions. I do have an audience. She's being bribed with good food and whiskey, so she stayed around.
So, with all of the follow the money and all, what's forcing people that aren't part of the money to keep following and agreeing with this?
Part of it is because a lot of people are never presented with a second option. They're not presented with any other data other than what the people who want the money are pushing. And that goes all the way down to the public school level. I mean, when I was in 6th grade, 1986, we were all told that we were going to die from holding the ozone layer, right? So if you can teach a 6th grader that they're going to die, then when they become an adult, it takes a lot to break through that kind of educational, rhetorical indoctrination.
Okay. And if this road is continued with people thinking that climate change is controllable by humans, where does this road lead us?
Well, I mean, it leads us to constantly taking the wrong actions to deal with the climate change that is happening. Because we're not doing what we need to do in order to have a positive effect on what we think might happen. What we're doing is just putting money into people's pockets. And those people are the ones flying around on a private jet and eating steak. So, I'll believe it's a climate crisis when the people telling me it's a climate crisis begin to behave like it's a climate crisis. All right, that's all I have. Thank you.